Hey everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. I've mentioned it a couple times, but I am getting married this year and it happens to be in October. The theme of our wedding is Till Death Do Us Part, so it's going to be like a more gothic, moody, romantic wedding. We're also keeping it pretty small, so I've decided to DIY a lot of the decorations, including like invitations, signs, the centerpieces, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to actually make some of that into some content for you guys. So I will be splitting this into two different videos. This is part one. And I don't know what exactly I'm going to include in each video. The title will give away what's in each video, but if you are planning your own spooky wedding or a Halloween wedding or a Halloween party, a lot of these decorations are kind of applicable to both. So this might give you some inspiration as well as just kind of show you what I used, how I made these things, and the final result. Obviously it's not October yet and I'm not married, so I can't show you the final result of like what the venue looks like and whatnot, but I will probably share some photos to my Instagram once I get them back, but that's, months down the road, so we won't worry about that for right now. Without further ado, let's get into the first couple of the DIYs. I just hopped out of the shower, so ignore the wet hair, but I figured today was the day that I was going to try and tackle a Cricut project for the first time ever. So I bought some vow books a little while ago because I thought that would be kind of cute, and then, I don't end up with myself or my fiance pulling out like a crumpled piece of paper that has our vows on it for the middle of our wedding. Anyways, I'll show you what we got so far. So I found this font and I figured out how to make it cut on vinyl. So they give you this little test piece of vinyl over here. So I did. And it did cut it. I'm gonna see if I can get it off and check if this is the right size for the vow books. But like, it did its job, so we'll see. This is definitely not how you're supposed to use the tools, but I managed to get it off of the vinyl. I'm just gonna stick it to the back here because I'm not actually using black. But I think this is a good like thickness. I don't know how I'm gonna wield this. I know transfer tape would be perhaps good in this situation, considering how like skinny some of these lines are, but I don't think the transfer tape is gonna go very well when I'm trying to put this onto another piece of paper, if that makes any sense. So let's pull out the vow books and see if it's a good size. All right, so these are the vow books that I bought. They have this beautiful gold foil on them. I got them off of Etsy. They're pretty plain on the back, and then it's just plain pieces of paper on the inside here. That was really bad, but I only have one hand to do this. So this is obviously too large because I just want it to go like here on the bottom because they're identical. So I want one that's obviously for me and one that's obviously for my fiance. And I bought the gold foil that was hopefully reflective in the same manner to do so. So now I'm just going to do a little bit of measuring because this is obviously much too large, and I will try again. Okay, let's ignore the fact that I stuck it to my hand for this. That turned out a little better, except we're having some problems with the weeding of this little part over here. I'm surprised it's able to cut that thin. I don't have any experience with my Cricut. This is literally the first project I'm doing, but this size I think is much better. Is it going to be impossible to stick on there? Probably, but we're going to try our best. As I've gone through all this, I now realize that this gold is different from the other gold. Okay, the jury has voted, aka my fiance, and oh my goodness, we're gonna go with metallic champagne instead because it's like slightly closer and not nearly as glaringly different. So let's try that again. For whatever reason, that actually turned out significantly better than the gold. Anyways, the lines are a lot more crisp, so I guess a good thing that we went with this. So I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to weed this and put it on the vow books now. All right, that was actually significantly harder than I thought it was going to be, but here are the finished vow books. So we have his and we have hers. They're not exactly in the same spot, which, you know what, whatever, is fine. I managed to get a little dot for the eye and it's stuck on there. It actually doesn't look bad. It's kind of exactly what I was looking for. So that's one more thing checked off my list. Thought it right, one of the spooky wedding crafts that I wanted to do was to make this sign into like a sign for the guest book or something along those lines. So I found this last year in 2024 at Michael's. It was part of their Hippie Hollow collection, and I loved that it was a chalkboard and also coffin shaped because that fits the theme of my wedding very well, but I hated that it was pink. I figured that was an easy enough fix, so I'm gonna go ahead and paint over the pink, and I'm gonna do it in this purple color because purple is one of my wedding colors. And then I'll see about what I actually want to write on here. All right, let's peel this tape and see if it did its job. I don't have the most faith in this because I've had poor experiences with frog tape in the past, but we will see. Other than this top corner that looks like it took a little bit of a beating, this corner here and kind of along the bottom, it actually didn't do a terrible job. So I'm gonna go ahead and do those touch-ups. I just went around the edges with my black Posca pen and cleaned up all of this stuff. And now you really can't tell that I overshot on some of the taping. The only noticeable part is in this top corner, but I'm hoping people don't look that hard at it because like from afar it looks pretty good. So for the next part of my coffin sign project, now that all the edges are cleaned up and everything is looking better, I have the font to do. So I printed off with my Cricut all the letters and whatnot. Normally you would be placing the letters directly on the board, but because it's a chalkboard, I have chalk paint, and I'm going to do the opposite and instead weed out all of the letters and then use this as a stencil. Is it the prettiest looking stencil? No, but is it going to do the trick? Probably. Now just to do the chalk paint in all of the word areas, and we'll peel it off and see if it works. After 3 coats of chalk paint, it's now time for the big reveal. I think I'm going to start in the center, just where the vinyl looks like it's peeling up already, and I've kept my obnoxiously long nails that are disgustingly covered in chalk paint right now, specifically so that I'd be able to peel up the vinyl, hopefully without too many problems. So far so good. I like the way that looks. After a little bit of touch up, it is finally done. I love the way that this turned out. I feel like maybe I would have gotten the same result if I used vinyl instead of like the chalk paint, you know, and did the opposite of what I just did here, but I think it's great. For the table numbers for my wedding, I took some inspiration from online and created this little graphic. Obviously it's sideways. It's gonna look like this, but to get the right dimensions, for whatever reason, it had to be sideways in Canva because I can't figure out how to make the dimensions right apparently. Anyways, before I get too far off track, my original thought was to have this printed out, but I don't want to waste black ink printing this onto white paper, and you need a special printer to print white ink onto black paper. So I figured why not actually use the Cricut and cut this out of black paper, kind of like a stencil, and then glue the white paper in behind. I don't know if it's gonna work. I'm gonna try it and see, and fingers crossed, we hope for the best. This is probably impossible to see. You can see my reflection better than you can see this, but let me just zoom in here, I guess. Whoops. I don't really know how to use Cricut, so we're learning together, but I've made 2 copies of my first table. I've separated them a little bit and I've flipped them around so that when they cut out, if I were to glue something on the back of it and then flip it over, it would read properly. So I'm going to do that to both sides of one piece of paper. And I've made them the correct size so that I can cut 2 out of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I just bought this. It says it's cutting machine compatible, so fingers crossed that means it actually works. So also fingers crossed my math is right. So I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to cut this. I'm gonna put the paper on like one of those sticky mats and see if that helps keep the paper in place while it's cutting. So I will bring you back when I get over to my Cricut setup. So this is what it looks like. I think with my idea, I just have to weed out all of these little paper pieces. That's already happened for some of the really teeny tiny cuts, like you can see here. Hopefully, I'm able to actually weed out all of these pieces and my vision comes to life. This is actually painful to do, and I don't want to damage my mat by like picking at it too much, so I wonder if it would actually be easier to just cut out this shape in white and then peel away everything else and glue it to a black piece of paper. So I think even though it took twice as long because this is heavy cardstock, this is definitely the way to go. That was an epic fail. So I think my last hope is maybe trying to draw the design on with a marker of some kind using the Cricut, or we'll just have to give up and find some black acrylic sheets and use white vinyl on them because I know for sure that would work. So one emergency trip to Michael's later and we got a Cricut pen and marker set that came in gold at my fiance's idea. The sentence isn't making sense, but I swatched the glitter gel pen and then also one of the markers, and this is the color it is. So I think I'm gonna go ahead with the 1.0 marker and we'll see if we can color it in with gold and see if that looks good. So far it seems to be working, which I love, and then we'll see how it looks. I guess I'm still printing like the 2 of them side by side so I can cut them out and glue them together, and then it's like a thicker piece of cardstock. So I'm guessing that's my best option so that the pen doesn't wear off if I were to stick it to the other side of the mat. So I'll bring you back when this is all done. That actually turned out way better than I thought it was going to. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do this for the other 7 tables that I have to do. Now that I've cut out each table card, I went ahead and put a glue dot like right in the center to stick the 2 together so that I could evenly trim both sides. Now what I'm going to do is like unstick them, glue dot around the edge, and then stick them back together again. After much trial and error, my double-sided table numbers are finally finished. I have 8 tables. They're all done. I think they turned out really good, much better than I was thinking when we had so much error during the trial phase. But anyways, thank God that's done. For our wedding sign, I have designed the bottom and top. This is for the welcome. It's going to be cut out of this white vinyl. I have this really long sheet that came with my Cricut, and I'm gonna try and cut it out of this big long one, cut the 2 pieces in half, and then I have a mirror that it's gonna go onto. So I'm gonna load this into the Cricut, hope it cuts, and then I will bring you on the process of putting it on the mirror. So I sped through weeding this out because you really can't see what I'm doing since it's white vinyl. But I weeded everything out after I cut it into 2 pieces. Then I'm just putting the transfer tape on top of them. This is my first time using it, so it didn't really go quite the way that I hoped, but it ended up being successful in the end. It was a little challenging because the vinyl kept wanting to roll up underneath of me, but got it sorted. Then here's the mirror. Ignore how messy and gross the spare bedroom is. It's horrible. Don't look in the reflection of the mirror. Anyways, I taped up a ruler to the mirror to try and get things centered and aligned.
I did the welcome to our wedding at the top, and then our name and date at the very bottom. Here I am sitting like a gremlin, and here's the finished thing. So I just finished editing the video up to this point, and I feel like it's probably long enough here, so hopefully you enjoyed the DIYs in this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to my channel. I post new videos on Mondays and sometimes Wednesdays, Thursdays, usually about twice a month. Stay tuned for part 2 of this video where we will do the rest of the DIYs, like some centerpieces, the seating chart, and some more signs for the venue. I hope you have a lovely week, and I will see you all in the next video.